Welcome to episode 55 of your CYSA Plus Prepcast. In this episode, we begin our journey through Domain 2, titled Vulnerability Management in Practice. This domain focuses on the foundational and operational elements of identifying, assessing, prioritizing, and mitigating vulnerabilities in organizational systems and networks. As a cybersecurity analyst, your ability to manage vulnerabilities effectively has a direct impact on your organization's ability to prevent intrusions and reduce exposure to threats. The skills and concepts in this domain are practical, widely applied in real environments, and highly relevant to your success on the CYSA Plus exam. Let us begin by building a clear and structured understanding of what vulnerability management entails and how it functions in daily cybersecurity operations. To begin, let us define what vulnerability management means within the cybersecurity profession. Vulnerability management is a structured and continuous process that includes identifying, assessing, prioritizing, and mitigating weaknesses or exposures in hardware, software, and system configurations. These weaknesses can be exploited by threat actors to gain unauthorized access, disrupt services, or steal data. By implementing a well-designed vulnerability management program, organizations reduce their attack surface, respond to emerging threats more effectively, and ensure regulatory compliance. This proactive approach helps organizations remain resilient in the face of ever-evolving cyber risks. The first major step in vulnerability management is asset discovery. This step involves identifying and documenting all digital assets across the organization. Assets include not only physical devices such as servers, workstations, and networking equipment, but also virtual resources like cloud instances, software applications, and databases. A complete and accurate asset inventory ensures that all systems are scanned for vulnerabilities and that no critical components are overlooked. Without proper asset discovery, blind spots emerge and critical vulnerabilities may remain undetected and unpatched. Analysts rely on automated vulnerability scanning tools to identify exposures efficiently. Popular tools such as Nessus, Qualys, OpenVAS, and Rapid7 Insight VM are used to conduct scheduled scans across network segments and system environments. These scanners evaluate systems against databases of known vulnerabilities, often including information from sources like the National Vulnerability Database. Scanning tools provide detailed reports that identify which vulnerabilities exist, which systems are affected, and what severity levels are assigned. These reports form the backbone of the remediation workflow. Understanding the distinction between internal and external scanning is vital to designing an effective vulnerability management strategy. Internal scans are conducted from within the organization's network and are aimed at discovering vulnerabilities that an attacker could exploit after gaining a foothold inside the network. External scans, in contrast, are conducted from outside the perimeter and are designed to identify exposures visible to the public internet. A balanced vulnerability management program includes both internal and external scanning to address risks from all potential access points. Analysts must also choose between credentialed and non-credentialed scans. Credentialed scans use authorized login credentials to access systems and gather detailed information about installed software, configurations, and missing patches. These scans provide deep visibility into system health and are less likely to generate false positives. Non-credentialed scans, by contrast, view the system as an outsider would, identifying exposures that are visible without logging in. While faster and simpler non-credentialed scans often provide less depth and may miss critical configuration issues. Vulnerability detection can be either passive or active, each with distinct advantages. Passive detection involves monitoring network traffic and logs without directly interacting with the systems being evaluated. This method is non-intrusive and does not risk disrupting operations. Active detection, on the other hand, involves direct probing or querying of systems, typically through scanning tools. While active detection offers more comprehensive visibility, it may generate load on the network or temporarily interfere with performance. Choosing between passive and active detection depends on the risk tolerance and operational priorities of the organization. Static and dynamic analysis techniques are used to detect vulnerabilities within software or applications. Static analysis involves reviewing source code or compiled binaries without executing the code This method is particularly useful in development environments where early detection of vulnerabilities can prevent future exploits. Dynamic analysis, by contrast, involves executing the application in a controlled environment to observe its behavior during runtime. This approach helps analysts identify vulnerabilities that only manifest during specific operations or user interactions, such as memory corruption or authentication flaws. Certain special considerations must be addressed when conducting vulnerability scans. Factors such as business criticality, system sensitivity, and regulatory requirements can all influence how and when scans are performed. For example, scanning production systems during peak business hours may introduce unacceptable risk, while skipping scans altogether could violate compliance obligations. Analysts must schedule scans thoughtfully, communicate with stakeholders, and ensure that risk management principles are followed throughout the scanning and remediation process. To guide assessments and maintain consistency, analysts rely on widely accepted industry frameworks. The Common Vulnerability Scoring System provides a structured way to evaluate the severity of vulnerabilities, considering factors such as exploitability, impact, and complexity. Analysts also use benchmarks from the Center for Internet Security, secure coding practices from the Open Web Application Security Project, and compliance standards like the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard. These frameworks ensure that vulnerability management processes are standardized, repeatable, and aligned with industry best practices. Effective vulnerability management is not complete without proper reporting and documentation. Analysts generate detailed reports that specify which vulnerabilities were identified, which systems are affected, and what remediation steps are recommended. Reports may also include timelines for patching, notes on mitigation strategies, and summaries for non-technical stakeholders. Clear documentation supports accountability, facilitates communication across teams, and provides evidence of due diligence during audits or post-incident reviews. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are more security courses on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. A critical aspect of any vulnerability management program is effective prioritization. With thousands of vulnerabilities disclosed each year and numerous alerts generated during scans, analysts must make decisions about which issues to address first. Prioritization ensures that limited resources are focused on the vulnerabilities that pose the greatest risk to the organization. Analysts consider multiple factors when making these decisions. These include the severity score based on the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, whether the vulnerability is known to be exploited in the wild, the criticality of the affected asset, and the potential business impact if the vulnerability were exploited. By combining these inputs, analysts develop a risk-informed plan that addresses the most dangerous exposures first. Threat intelligence enrichment plays an important role in refining this prioritization process. Enrichment refers to the use of external data to add context to vulnerability findings. For example, threat intelligence feeds may confirm that a given vulnerability is actively being targeted by specific threat actors or linked to ongoing malware campaigns. When analysts know that an exploit is being used in real attacks, they can treat the associated vulnerability with higher urgency. Enriched data also helps reduce noise, allowing analysts to distinguish between theoretical risks and real-world threats that demand immediate attention. Once vulnerabilities are prioritized, remediation planning begins with patch management at the center of that effort. A structured patch management process ensures that software updates and security patches are applied consistently across all systems. Analysts and IT teams work together to define patching windows, test updates before deployment, automate patch distribution when possible, and verify that installations succeed. Automation helps reduce the risk of human error and ensures that patches are applied on schedule. Post-deployment validation confirms that the vulnerability has been closed and that system performance remains stable. In some cases, applying a patch immediately may not be possible. The system may be in constant use, the patch might conflict with legacy applications, or there could be concerns about downtime. In such scenarios, analysts explore alternative mitigation strategies. These may include deploying compensating controls such as host-based firewalls, enforcing stricter access controls, segmenting network access, or increasing monitoring of the affected asset. These mitigations serve to reduce the risk of exploitation. while permanent solutions are being evaluated or prepared. Flexibility and creativity are key in designing mitigations that reduce risk without disrupting essential operations. Verification of remediation efforts is essential to maintaining confidence in the vulnerability management process. Analysts conduct post-remediation validation by rescanning affected systems or performing targeted manual tests. These actions confirm that the vulnerability is no longer present and that the remediation was correctly applied. Without verification, organizations may assume a vulnerability has been resolved when in fact it remains exploitable. Regular validation also helps identify weaknesses in the patch management process, such as misconfigured update settings or incomplete deployments. Vulnerability management must also be continuous. The landscape of vulnerabilities changes daily, with new threats emerging and systems being added or reconfigured. To keep pace, analysts implement continuous vulnerability monitoring. This can be achieved through real-time vulnerability feeds, frequent automated scans, or integration with configuration management databases. Continuous monitoring allows analysts to detect new vulnerabilities quickly, identify configuration drift, and respond to changes that may introduce unexpected risk. This approach transforms vulnerability management from a reactive task into a proactive discipline. Risk assessment activities complement vulnerability management by adding broader context to security decisions. Analysts evaluate not only the technical details of vulnerabilities, but also the business importance of the affected systems, the potential operational impact, and the likelihood of exploitation. By aligning vulnerability data with threat intelligence and asset valuation, analysts produce risk assessments that inform cybersecurity planning and resource allocation. These assessments also support communication with stakeholders by framing technical issues in terms of business consequences and risk tolerance. Successful vulnerability management requires collaboration across multiple teams. Analysts must coordinate with IT operations to schedule scans and apply patches. They work with developers to understand application vulnerabilities and ensure that secure coding practices are followed. They engage business stakeholders to prioritize assets and clarify operational constraints. Senior leadership plays a key role in setting priorities and allocating resources. This cross-functional collaboration ensures that vulnerability management efforts are aligned with organizational goals, well-supported, and effectively executed. Documentation plays a critical role in sustaining vulnerability management efforts. Analysts maintain records of scanning schedules, tools used, vulnerabilities identified, prioritization frameworks, remediation timelines, and final outcomes. This documentation supports compliance with regulatory requirements, enables consistent performance evaluations, and provides historical data for trend analysis. It also supports continuity in operations when personnel changes occur and facilitates onboarding for new team members. Clear and organized documentation is essential for building trust in the vulnerability management process. Finally, no vulnerability management program remains static. Analysts must continually refine their strategies based on operational experience, industry developments, and evolving threats. Post-incident reviews, lessons learned from remediation efforts, and changes in organizational infrastructure all provide opportunities to improve. Analysts also stay informed about best practices by participating in industry forums, training sessions, and security research. These efforts ensure that vulnerability management programs remain effective, adaptable, and capable of protecting the organization over time. To summarize episode 55, vulnerability management is a dynamic and essential component of any cybersecurity program. Analysts must not only identify vulnerabilities, but also prioritize them based on risk, coordinate remediation efforts, verify results, and adapt their strategies to an ever-changing threat landscape. A strong vulnerability management program reduces exposure, supports compliance, and improves overall resilience against cyber attacks. These are critical skills, both for your CySA Plus exam and for long-term success as a cybersecurity professional. Stay tuned as we continue your detailed journey towards CySA Plus certification success. Thanks for listening. To learn more about cybersecurity, please visit baremetalcyber.com. There you will find best-selling books, videos, and even more free cybersecurity training courses. Please subscribe to the PrepCast and our various podcasts. And thanks for listening.